Some of the most powerful assignments in history were given to people who felt unqualified, underprepared, and unsure. Moses said, "I can't speak." Jeremiah said, "I am too young." Gideon said, "My clan is the weakest." But God used them all. Why? Because overqualification often breeds availability breeds dependence. When you know you can't do it on your own, you lean on God. When you think you can handle it, you lean on yourself. God bypasses those who insist on control, because control leaves no room for faith. Availability means showing up even when your hands are empty. Even when your voice shakes. Even when the path isn't clear yet. People who are available don't say, "I know how this will work." They say, "If you are with me, I will go." If God has ever nudged you to step into something unfamiliar, a responsibility you didn't ask for, and you said yes anyway, that yes mattered more than your skill set. God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. Type 4. They rejected the vessel of separation. Type number 4. God chooses the rejected, not the applauded. This part is for those who have felt pushed to the edges, not celebrated, not included, not chosen at least, not by people. If you've ever been overlooked despite your faithfulness, if doors closed without explanation, if you watched others advance while you were quietly set aside, this is not a sign that God passed you over. Often, it is proof that He didn't. Rejection is one of God's most misunderstood tools, because what people reject, God often reserves. The Psalms tell us, "The stone the builders rejected has become the capstone." Applause can distract. Rejection refines. When people misunderstand you, something important happens. Your identity detaches from approval. Your motivation becomes purer. Your obedience becomes quieter and stronger. God frequently hides His chosen ones before He reveals them. He hides them in the desert. He hides them in obscurity, not to punish them, but to protect them. If everyone had access to you, your assignment would be If everyone affirmed you early, your character would not be ready later. Isolation is not abandonment. It is incubation. God often removes voices so His can become clearer. If your rejection didn't harden you, if it didn't turn you bitter, if it taught you discernment instead of defensiveness, then God was shaping you, not sidelining you. Rejection is not the end of your story. It is the editing process. What people pushed away, God was setting apart. You were not rejected because you were wrong. You were rejected because you were early. Type number 5. God chooses the faithful, not the flashy. Let's end the list where God often begins His trust, not with intensity, not with visibility, but with faithfulness. God is not looking for people who burn bright for a moment and then burn out. He is looking for those who stay steady when no one is watching. Flashy faith draws attention. Faithful faith carries weight. Some of you have been serving quietly for years, praying without recognition, showing up when enthusiasm faded, waiting when answers were delayed, and you wondered if it mattered. You wondered if anyone saw. It does, and He did. Faithfulness is the language God understands best, because faithfulness reveals character under pressure. It proves love without reward. It shows commitment without applause. Many people want impact, but few want God tests faithfulness in the small, ordinary moments. Do you remain honest when shortcuts are available? Do you stay consistent when passion fluctuates? Do you keep trusting when progress is slow? Faithful people don't always feel strong. They feel committed. They don't rely on emotional highs. They rely on conviction. Waiting seasons are not wasted seasons. They are training grounds. If God has ever asked you to wait longer than you wanted, to serve without being seen, to remain planted when leaving would be easier, that waiting was not delay. It was development. God builds lasting influence through consistency, not charisma. Flash fades. Faithfulness remains. And if you're still here, still believing, still choosing God, even when it costs you, then hear this clearly. God sees what others overlook. He remembers what others forget. God trusts the faithful with what lasts. Which one are you? Now, let's bring this all together, because this was never just information. It was an invitation. You've just heard 5 types of people. The broken, the obedient, the available, the rejected, the faithful. And if you're honest, you probably didn't see yourself in just one. Most people don't. Because God rarely shapes his chosen through a single season. He layers the process. He breaks us so we don't rely on ourselves. He trains us in obedience, so we listen when he speaks. He teaches availability, so we don't resist. When he sends, he allows rejection, so we don't depend on approval. And he builds faithfulness, so we can be trusted long-term. Being chosen is not about elevation. It is about responsibility. God does not choose people to make them feel special. He chooses them so they can serve with humility, courage, and endurance. If this message stirred something deep, if parts of it felt uncomfortably familiar, that wasn't condemnation. That was a recognition. God has been forming you quietly in places no one applauded, through seasons that didn't make sense at the time. And you may still feel unsure, still imperfect, still in process. That's not disqualifying. That is exactly how chosen people often feel. So here is the final question, not to answer out loud, but to carry with you in the quiet of your heart. Will you keep saying yes? Yes, when it's costly. Yes, when it's slow. Yes, when no one understands. Yes, when obedience is heavier than excitement. Because God finishes what he starts. He does not abandon what he chooses. And if he has been shaping you, stretching you, calling you deeper, then you were never overlooked. You were never late. You were never forgotten. You were being prepared. Let me ask you something, and do not answer too quickly. Have you ever wondered why God allows certain people to go through so much, while others seem to glide through life untouched? Why are some shaped in the crucible of silence, pressure, and loss, while others are celebrated early, loudly, and publicly? Because here is a truth that many believers never hear. God does not choose people the way the world does. The world chooses the impressive. God chooses the prepared. The world looks for talent. God looks for posture. The world builds platforms. God builds altars. You see, being cold is common. Being chosen is costly. Many hear God's voice, but few stay when obedience becomes uncomfortable. Many want the purpose, but not many are willing to be reshaped for it. And this message is not here to flatter you. It is here to expose, confirm, and realign. If you are listening to this and something in you feels unsettled, if you've carried questions, pain, or a quiet sense that there is more, this message may not be entertainment. It may be recognition. Today, we are decoding the divine selection process. We are talking about 5 types of people God chooses, not based on titles, not based on followers, but based on the architecture of their soul. Somewhere in these 5, you will see yourself. Listen carefully, not with your ears, but with your spirit. To understand why you feel the way you do, we must first understand the divine logic. Throughout history, the pattern is consistent. The Creator is not an elitist. He is a strategist. When God wants to change the world, he doesn't go to the palaces of Rome. He doesn't go to the universities of Athens. He doesn't go to the PR firms of the modern age. He goes to the desert. He goes to the prison cell. He goes to the pasture. He finds the people who have been overlooked, underestimated, and broken by life. Why? Because fragility is the container for glory. As the Apostle Paul wrote, "But we have this treasure in jars of clay to show that this all-surpassing power is from God, and not from us." 2 Coríntios 4:7. If the vessel is too perfect, people praise the vessel. If the vessel is cracked, and light shines through it, people praise the light. The selection process is rigorous. It is painful. It is often lonely, but it is necessary. If you have felt like life is breaking you down, it might actually be God building you up. Let us examine the evidence. Which one are you? Part 3. Pattern reveal. The 5 types. Type 1. The broken, the vessel of dependence. Type number 1. God chooses the broken, not the polished. Let's start with the one that surprises most people. God often chooses the broken before he ever chooses the gifted. not the flawless, not the confident, not the ones who have it all together, but the ones who have been cracked by life and didn't quit. If you've been wounded, if life humbled you in ways you never planned, if disappointment, loss, rejection, or failure stripped away your illusions, you are not disqualified. You are positioned. Brokenness does something success never can. It removes self-reliance. It teaches you how to listen. It makes you careful with people's hearts. The Bible is full of people God trusted after they were broken, not before. Jacob walked with a limp. Peter led the church only after he failed the test of loyalty. But here's the distinction you need to hear clearly. God chooses the broken, not the bitter. There is a difference. Brokenness that turns into humility draws God closer. Brokenness that turns into resentment pushes purpose away. If your pain made you softer, not harder. If it made you wiser, not cruel. If it taught you compassion instead of comparison, then hear this clearly. Your wounds did not disqualify you. They qualified you. Because only those who have been broken know how to hold power without abusing it. Type 2. The obedia, the vessel of alignment. Type number 2. God chooses the obedia, not the popular. Let me say this plainly, because it needs to be said. God is not impressed by popularity. He is moved by alignment. The world rewards visibility. God rewards obedience. Some of the most chosen people in Scripture were not celebrated. They were questioned, misunderstood, even criticized by the very people they were sent to help. Obedience rarely looks impressive at first. Often, it looks absurd. Imagine Noah building a boat when it had never rained. Imagine Abraham walking up a mountain to sacrifice his promise. If you've ever felt the tension of knowing what God asked you to do, and realizing that doing it would cost you approval, comfort, or relationships, then you understand this category. God does not test obedience in public moments first. He tests it in the quiet decisions. The ones no one claps for. The ones no one notices. Do you obey when no one is watching? Do you stay faithful when disobedience would be easier and even praised? Delayed obedience is not partial obedience. It is disobedience, dressed in fear. Heaven records obedience long before earth recognizes fruit. Popularity fades. Obedience remains. And sometimes God intentionally removes applause so obedience can stay pure. If you lost favor with people because you stayed aligned with God, you are not missing out. You are being trusted, because God does not entrust weight to those addicted to approval. Type 3. The available, the vessel of willingness. Type number 3. God chooses the available, not the overqualified. This may challenge the way you've been taught to think about calling. God does not wait for you to feel ready. He waits for you to be available. The world says, get stronger, get smarter, get more confident, then step forward. God says, come as you are, and let me do the strengthening.